Well, looks like it's only Alex Williams and myself holding things down here at the main studios again. The bug is out in Atlanta, Georgia.
We're the dynamic duo.
We are the dynamic duo. I appreciate you coming in here hanging out with me, man. I am Jared Yamamoto, and welcome to Sports Pod. My goodness, between the crew being sick and the college football playoff rankings just coming out, and we got a lot to talk about, guys, and it's gonna be fun. I'm excited. I've got Rivalry Week was everything you could have asked for and more. And one thing I love about this team here on the Sports Pod is that even if they are ill, they have been playing through pain, making sure that they come back. Who is the rest of the crew? You just heard from Alex Williams over there. He's the Bama guy. Right now, he's got a big smile on his face, knowing that Bama is somehow in the playoff as of right now. But you got to be feeling great over there. We'll get to your side of things after we talk to MikeB. MikeB, welcome back, man.
Yeah, Bama ain't playing this weekend. Tell him wipe that smile off his face. It's his championship.
You can tell
real teams who playing this weekend.
That's true. It's going to be fun with all of the conference championships this weekend coming up. We'll go through all that in just a minute. Nicole is back as well, too. Nicole actually broadcasting from Studio Scared over there. Studio Scared.
Studio Scared?
Yeah.
New. Well, wait. I was Studio South when I was in Savannah. I'm now in Charlotte, North Carolina, so I can't be Studio North.
Studio Stress, man. Studio Stress.
I like Studio Stress or the Stress Studio.
Yeah.
That's
the Stress Studio. Okay. All right.
Yeah. The Stress. Because I don't think you have any fingernails left after watching the Georgia Tech game.
We need like a dream catcher behind you and some candles, whatever it takes.
Okay. Guys, I think I almost died Friday night. I'm not going to lie. That was a lot.
Yes, it was. And the commissioner almost had the last laugh. He was the only one that picked Georgia Tech in that game. And quite frankly, I mean, that game was it was the game of the weekend, in my opinion. But Dan, you're still playing through some pain too. Broadcast from you feeling a little bit better there, buddy?
I'm almost back. I have a feeling I'll be in studio next week. Just still recuperating from the sickness and the losses.
Yeah, you were up in the you went home for the holidays. You went to cold Ohio, and I'm sure that didn't help at all. Mike B's been around all the children. Alex Williams, I mean, there's been a bug going around the building here at WSB Radio for a while now, and so I got sick.
Can't keep me down.
I feel like we just jump from bug to bug here at WSB because I got sick.
Building up my immune system.
Yeah, getting ready for the real hit, which is going to be right around Christmas. That's always when people get sick. But I actually got sick right on like Black Friday into Saturday for a day, and I just got a sore throat, compression headache, felt terrible. But then by Sunday I shook it, so I don't know what that was or if that was an indicator of what's coming. But I was happy to shake it quickly. So just make sure that everybody out there in the Sports Pod audience is taking good care of themselves. But most importantly, we just got the college football playoff rankings. Let's go through those right now. And before we get into any of the rivalry week games here, I don't want to confuse anybody because I realize the rankings are different on AP. The rankings are actually different in the college football playoff bowl. So I'm just going to illustrate this as best as possible here. So as of right now, here's what the matchups would look like. Your first round buys would be Oregon with the number 1 seed, Texas with the number 2 seed, SMU with the number 3 seed, and Boise State with the number 4 seed. All 4 of those teams would hypothetically have a bye if they win their championship games. And looking at the first round games where one of these schools will be at home here, I'm going to go by the seeding. The lower seed hosts the home game here. So number 5 Penn State would host number 12 Arizona State. Again, hypothetical if Arizona State were to win the Big 12. Number 8, Ohio State would host at-large number 9, Tennessee. Number 6, Notre Dame would host number 11, Alabama, which is why Alex has got that big smile right there. I don't know how Alabama's a playoff team. Number 7, Georgia would host number 10, Indiana at this point. So we just got this. It just broke on ESPN. Who wants to go first here? How do we feel about these playoff rankings as of right now?
I don't like them.
All right, Mike B, why do you not like him?
Because they give a whole nother on all of our resources, they give a whole nother ranking from 1 to 12 just for the college football playoff, because you got to play the championships. You got to let a few of these teams lose. Texas will not be there. I said it. Like, I don't understand.
Well, but I think Texas, if I'm understanding correctly from what the committee just said, Texas would just fall to where Georgia is now, the number 7 seed. But you got to think that
But Georgia's not number 7 on the college football playoff rankings.
Correct. Well, in the playoff seeding, the way it works here, that's why I want to make sure that people are not confused here. This is how the seeding would work.
So we're talking about the seeding. We didn't give the real rankings.
Yes. So that's why I want to make sure people understand. This is how the seeding would work if the playoffs started today, because I think that visually you get the best picture when you see it this way. So I just don't think if Texas lost to Georgia, obviously Georgia would definitely get a first round bye. But I don't see Texas as a 7 seed because they'd only have 2 losses. I mean, what are you thinking there, Nicole?
Oh, I see what you're saying. I am processing. I guess the expanded playoff, we didn't consider the implication for teams that make it to their championship games, because when we were watching tonight's rankings and the unveiling, the chairman of the CFP committee said, and just keep in mind, the teams that aren't playing in championship games this weekend will stay where they're at in the rankings. Their ranking this week is going to be exactly the same next week, because they won't have, as the committee, a data point to compare their, which is still really confusing to me, but I guess, yeah.
That doesn't make any sense, though, because if you look at the seeding right now, if SMU loses the ACC championship, then, I mean, even
a bubble team has to be out.
Yeah, you got to knock Alabama out, I think.
Right.
And nothing against Bama, but I think SMU at 2 losses is better than Alabama at 3 losses. I mean, wouldn't you agree there, Bama boy?
I mean, I would agree. So if that's the case, like Nicole's saying, does SMU not get in and Clemson gets their spot? Like, how's that work?
No. I think Clemson still gets a first round bye. I mean, this is.
But I'm just saying, if they leave Alabama, then who gets?
Hell no, they do not. Thank you.
You don't think that Clemson deserves this bye here? All right, we have it from the commissioner. Seems like he's locked and loaded over there. Okay, processing this right now. Are you okay with the college? Number one, are you okay with the rankings? And did you understand the methodology at all there, commish?
The seeding. Yeah, I'm fine with it. It is what it is. I think it'll shift a little bit after this weekend. I do think the one thing they say, though, for like an SEC standpoint, I think Georgia or Texas, either one win or lose, I think they will still get in. If Georgia loses and they're a 3-loss team, I think that actually hurts Bama and they probably bounce out. I think because they'll be the other 3rd-loss team. It's interesting is I think it hurts you more than it helps you, because teams like Boise, if Boise loses, UNLV will take their spot and Boise's out. They're not going to keep Boise in. They're not going to give 2 at-large bids from a smaller conference.
Yeah.
If Arizona State loses to Iowa State, they're out. Iowa State will be in, because the Big 12 is only getting 1. And I think if SMU loses, I think SMU's out, and I think Clemson's in. So I think Clemson. I think ACC. I think
they're not going to leave the ACC champion out.
Well, they're automatically in. Conference champions are automatically in. So I think Clemson would be in if they win. So I think it'll only hurt some of these. Like Boise, it hurts if they lose. SMU will hurt them if they lose. Arizona State will hurt them if they lose. I think they're all out if they lose. So maybe the ACC gets 2. The Big 12 is only going to get 1. At-large bids only get 1. Big 10 and the ACC, the SEC will get 4 each. And then Notre Dame, they're independent, so they're the.
Which I'm glad that Notre Dame
is what I think.
I'm glad that Notre Dame, because of them being an independent, I did get a chance to hear the committee's ruling on that, and that's because they're not in a conference that they definitely have to play a first-round game, but they get an automatic home game, which I'm almost like that's kind of an advantage. You kind of want your team to go out there and play it. If you got a home atmosphere at Notre Dame, I mean that's a good what Mike B. What come on, that's a nice perk there to have that home game in the first round. Wouldn't you agree with me?
Yeah, you should be in a conference like everybody else. I don't want to hear that.
Yep.
No.
Amen.
You should be in a conference. And why ain't Army up there?
Army lost.
Here's the deal.
They only had 1. Don't do that. It's a lot of
Notre Dame whooped them.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things that could still happen here. I mean, number one, I know that both Nicole and Dan,
Indiana's still up there for.
You both brought up UNLV potentially beating Boise State. I think possibly Tulane, if they win, could be the at large that jumps in there. It would have to be a very lopsided score for that to happen. But there's still a lot of questions that have to be answered about this seating here. I think that the nice thing is that next week we will get the full clarity of it, and somebody's ass is going to get fired if they keep
Jared
it like
makes a very good point. Just because if UNLV beats Boise, it doesn't mean UNLV will make it, because it's going to take the 5th highest conference champion, which may not be whatever the Mountain West is. It may end up being Tulane if they win their conference championship. So
which they play Army in the AAC.
Oh, so it could be the AAC champion. Could replace Boise if Boise loses.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that could still happen. So I'm not like, this is like fun to look at, but I feel like there's gonna be a lot of movement in this bracket before we actually know who's gonna play who. So
yeah, I mean, so
I wouldn't put too much stock in it.
Well, so yeah, what was that quote again, Nicole? I want to make sure that's clearly heard here, because what was that quote again that they made? Because that I'm still like trying to understand what they were trying to say.
From what I heard, the CFP committee chairman said, just keep in mind the rankings for the teams that aren't playing in championship games this weekend will not change, because we won't have a data point to compare for them next week. But Reese made him explain it. And then they went back to the studio and they went, okay, say that. You got to probably break that down one more time, and 3 times went by and I still don't fully understand what
I'm confused too. So again, the teams that hypothetically wouldn't have a data point would be Indiana, Notre Dame, Alabama, Ohio State, Tennessee, right? Those are the only ones.
One note on Notre Dame, he also said, or Reese or someone in studio tonight said, keep in mind Notre Dame can own the what is it? The lowest they can be ranked is 5th or something like that, because they're not in a conference.
Right. That's what I was bringing up. And that's good. I'm glad that they don't get the first round bye automatically.
Right. They do not. Yes.
But I think that it could be an advantage to play that extra week, especially in front of a home crowd. So in a way, I know that the idea is a bye is good, but you're already having, these games are not being played until December 20th and December 21st. So you already have a huge bye kind of going into this. So I mean, head scratchers as right now. Go ahead, Alex.
So I'm seeing on Twitter from a guy, he's a sports writer. He says CFB chairman Wade Manuel confirms on ESPN that the order of Alabama, Miami, Ole Miss, and South Carolina is set. That will not change.
Okay.
And then somebody asked, so if Clemson beats SMU, is Bama out and Clemson steals? And he says Clemson would steal the last spot. Bama versus SMU would be a committee decision.
Oh, okay.
See,
all right.
It's like, I don't envy them. I really
All right.
don't.
Well, I think at the end of the day, the nice thing about getting this news breaking right before we start Sports Spot is that we can analyze it all day. And at the end of the day,
fire the committee.
It's all gonna. Yeah, they need us to be able to decide this here, because I'm sorry, I don't think Bama deserves it at this point. No offense, Alex. I just don't. That Oklahoma game.
I was saying Saturday when I was watching, even beating Auburn, I still didn't think they passed the eye test.
Yeah, they definitely looked suspect. I mean, it's an Iron Bowl. I mean, all these rivalry games were great. So I do want to get into this, because what made rivalry week so great, and I know that everybody wants to talk about Michigan, Ohio State. That's just that was a tremendous game. But what really kicked it off, and anybody that tells you otherwise that kids don't look at the scoreboard of other schools, they're lying to you. I guarantee you that Georgia Tech was motivation to other smaller schools out there that were the unranked little guys going into their rivalry game, because the second that happened, that game went to 8 overtimes. You think in your locker room, or you open up your phone the next morning and you look over and you're like, hey, that could be us. And I think Michigan probably fed off that. I think that Syracuse probably fed off that. I think a lot of schools fed off that. We can be that bad guy coming into rivalry week now.
Now, did everybody feed off of the Michigan flag in the middle of the field too? That seemed to happen right after that with all the other games.
I was gonna get to that here in a minute. I wanted to talk specifically about Georgia Tech first, because the flag planting and I've got a unique take on it. I promise you we'll get to that. That's a good tease for later on. But with Georgia Tech going into 8 overtimes, Nicole, I mean, number one, that just proves you can't miss a sports pod there, because that was your punishment for missing. But seriously, as a Georgia fan, how did you process that?
Well, so as you guys know, I just moved, and we went for it, found a Georgia alumni bar. Let's do it. Let's go watch, meet some people in Charlotte who are Georgia fans. And the first half was so disappointing and embarrassing that we went home. I was like, I don't even know if I can keep watching, but I'm of course going to. How do I process it? I think I almost committed myself Friday night. I'm not gonna lie.
Welcome to Charlotte, North Carolina. Here's your latest commitment.
Go to a Panthers game, you'll feel better.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously. But I mean, I still said I don't think I've fully processed after the fact, because I mean, we almost beat the record for 9 overtimes. We witnessed history in a lot of ways. I'm going to be telling my kids, like, I watched that game live, and it was incredible by the end of it. I swear to you guys, I was like, okay, somebody just win. Somebody just win. I can't do it anymore. I can't take it. So,
Oh, well, the best part about that game was after both teams were so exhausted at the end, which I'm sorry, I got to put a little bit of blame on Georgia's conditioning. They have the better athletes, more 5-star, more 4-star athletes. And when I know that the game's been long and you typically have your starting squads, but in that case, you've got to be able to cycle people out and eventually wear Tech down, in my humble opinion, after watching that. And then they also going for 2 early in that game. That just doesn't make sense at all why they did that. I know that it was like, oh, it looks better on the scoreboard if we're closer, but if you kick the field goal early, you're not going to all those overtimes. You win in regulation there. Before we get to Mike B's take here, because I know Mike B was cheering for the Dogs here. I want to be fair and balanced. So let's get Dan's take here. He's represented Georgia Tech. His wife went to Georgia Tech. You're watching that game. You got to be feeling great, especially in the first half, right?
Yeah, it was a great first half. Pretty shocked how strong they came out and really shut down Georgia. I mean, I think it was another drive right before halftime. They had a guy wide open, dropped the touchdown pass, and then they missed the field goal. So that'd have been another added points right there before half. But I mean, they came out with the game plan they wanted to play, and they did it. And they ran the ball really well, and they were able to move the ball in Georgia's defense. So it was exciting to see. It was a really exciting game. Yeah, it was, I mean, 8 overtimes. It was crazy at the end. I was just like, neither team seemed like they wanted to win. Like anytime was on a chance, they'd mess up, and it was just back and forth. There was a few calls at the end that I thought were a little questionable. Maybe went the home team way there. But when there's a tip pass, it's not pass interference because the ball's been tipped. You can go after the ball, but let's just say leave that for the refs. That should have been not a pass interference call. But
yeah, I mean, it definitely got ticky tacky, and I mean. Number one, I know that a lot of people put blame on Haynes King for the fumble late in that game because if he holds onto the ball, it goes down to the 2-minute warning. I mean, at that point, Tech's defense was decimated with injuries. I think that Georgia probably would have scored with 50 seconds left if they had just they would have run it down to the 2-minute timeout. They would have, Georgia would have used all their timeouts. They would have gotten the ball back with 50 seconds. I still think they would have scored and gone to the overtime. But they could have made it more difficult had Haynes King not fumbled in that situation. But overall, the thing we need to bring up with Haynes King is that was a heroic, Herculean effort by him. And if you're a Georgia Tech fan, you got to be so happy that he's coming back for one more year. And he just laid it all out on the field. And for Brent Key and the Georgia Tech coaching staff, I mean, that was just a wonderful effort out of them. And it was just good to see the rivalry renewed. This has been so lopsided for so long that at the end of the day, I mean, I've always sided with Georgia in this argument, but I found myself pulling for Tech in some moments. I'm like, hey, I want this to keep going. Let's see how long this game will go.
Yeah.
Yes, Alex.
Speak for yourself, sir.
I think Georgia Tech could have avoided a lot of that, like kind of like Dan said, executing on more opportunities in the first half. 2 gleaning issues I see with Georgia. The drop passes, they need to go out and get a stud wide receiver. They have nobody that stands out in their wideouts, and their defense is bad.
No, I wouldn't even say that. I think that
I think Georgia's defense is not good.
They couldn't run the ball.
I'm not talking about just Georgia Tech all season. I don't think Georgia has a good defense.
I think. Well, I haven't thought about this. Mike B's been waiting patiently. I wanted Mike B to give his take on the rivalry game. There, go ahead.
Let me tell you something. Anybody that lost to Vanderbilt can't do no talking during this sports show.
Wait, who did Georgia lose to?
But let me talk about the fact that this is why people, just to talk about the state of Georgia, because people who are from Georgia, we cheer for Tech, especially if you're from the metro area. But Georgia, the Bulldogs represent the state as far as college football. That game was so amazing. That's why people love the Georgia. They keep moving down here. They talk about the state, but keep moving down here. And then we produce that on Black Friday while people didn't have to go to work.
Best
They
best
eat
game of the weekend.
leftover
by far.
turkey and ham and dressing and macaroni and cheese and collard greens. And that's what you got to watch, the state of Georgia. And then I think Georgia has finally, I think this is the year that we've been saying, this is the year Kirby has got to recruit. A lot of these guys have played behind some of the NFL's best players who are former Georgia studs, who are playing for the Philadelphia Eagles and the Pittsburgh Steelers and other teams that they play for. But
Cleveland Browns.
Cleveland Browns, like we got some studs in the NFL who are come from the Kirby Smart regime. But I think you've raised these other guys up under them, because we didn't do. We got some guys in the transfer portal, but not like other teams. Those Georgia guys are commits. Most of them stay, especially a lot of those positions where we excel in. But I think this year he's going to really have to recruit in order to remain a top 10 SEC dominant team. As far as Georgia Tech, they about to get some pieces. During the off season, a few coaches, some players, ACC, whatever. Dabo finna lose his job anyway. Put me in for a double lock on that.
All right.
ACC is shifting gears. I said that early in the season, due to I have new love in the ACC. But Georgia Tech, man, I mean, we like I said, over the years we've cheered for Tech. Some of the players from Atlanta who have went to Tech and have gone to the National Football League and been amazing. Of course, we all talk about Megatron, but at the same time, watch out for Tech next season. Kirby, you got time to recruit. I know you love these Georgia boys, and you go to these high schools and you tell them to come home, but it's okay to go to Florida and Alabama and South Carolina to just say, hey,
I mean,
y'all can come to Georgia. Listen, just because they live in Tallahassee don't mean they got to go to Gainesville.
Hey, watch out now.
Athens.
Yeah, Florida's going to be recruiting well. The Gus bus is going to FSU. There's going to be a lot of people pulling recruits.
I love Gus. Gus don't fit in
there. yeah. I'm still scratching my head on why.
Still shocked on that one right there, but okay.
Why he became the offensive coordinator, but just, I mean, looking at that game, I mean, just
he knew he was about to get canned.
But anyway, get fired. Yeah, he was getting out before I get fired. Yeah.
Let me go ahead and get this job. Listen, I got an offer. Y'all ain't got to fire me. You ain't got to pay me out. I'm gonna just resign.
I'm out.
Give me my last couple of paychecks. I'm out.
He saw the writing on the wall there at UCF, which is why he will now be the offensive coordinator at FSU. Again, hats off to Georgia Tech and the effort they put on there, and the game, I think with it being at the Benz next year, I do think that Georgia will probably win it. But here's the thing about Georgia. Okay, this is my observation. I think it's funny you bring up.
I don't know about next year.
Here's the thing that you bring up about Georgia where I disagree with you. The problem with Georgia's defense is that they were on the field for almost the entire first half and the third quarter. The offense finally took off at the end of the third quarter and into the fourth quarter, when Carson Beck realized I actually have to make some plays. And the thing about Carson Beck, after watching him for now, 10 games at least that I've watched this year of him, is that the guy has got all the potential to be a great pro, but he just doesn't have the intelligence at the quarterback level to be able to handle that job. That's what it is. His decision making is questionable. He has all the tools to be great. I mean, all of those passes, he's got the arm strength, he has speed in the pocket. He's got all the talent to be great, but it's within the ears right there. He's got to make better decisions. And once he realized, I'm losing to Georgia Tech at home in my final game at Sanford Stadium, then it's like I had to pick things up. Georgia Tech's defense was decimated, and he finally picked things up. But that's what it comes down to. Intelligence with the quarterback position is so important, and I think that's what became apparent to me, and why Georgia's defense appeared so run down at the end of the game is because they were on the field for the majority of the game. Credit to Georgia Tech's game plan, though.
I still think Georgia's defense is concerning. Just saying.
They ended up holding Tech down at the end of the game.
Okay. Let's take an 8 overtime game out of the equation. 4 quarters. You don't think Georgia's defense has been questionable?
They've shown moments, but they can't run the ball. And Georgia's bread and butter has always been to run the ball. And with Carson Beck, he's got to be able to make those clutch plays when necessary. And that comes down to QB intelligence. And if he doesn't have it now, it's certainly a question mark in the NFL. I think he could be a good NFL quarterback, and you can learn those traits, but certainly concerned there. By the way, final score of that game, 44-42 for those playing along at home. We could spend all day talking about Georgia. We got all these games to pick out because it was such a damn good game, but all hell broke loose with Ohio State losing to unranked Michigan in the shoe. This is the fourth year OSU has lost to Michigan in a row. Commissioner, what in the hell happened, man?
Yeah, this is the most disappointed, depressed I've ever been after an Ohio State game. This is the same blueprint they've done through 4 straight years, and we don't make adjustments. They run the ball, hold the clock, and we play conservative and don't take any plays downfield. It's the exact same thing we've done the last 4 years. So yeah, really disappointing. If you would have told me we held Michigan at 13 points and the quarterback had 60 yards passing and we had 2 interceptions, probably would have said we won by 35 or 25. Yeah, this was one of the worst offensive performances I think I've ever seen Ohio State team perform. It was pathetic. We ran the ball at the middle and we can't run the ball, and got in 3rd and long, and we're too scared to throw it on the field. I don't know. Ryan Day is in his head and he can't figure it out. If we lose in the first round of those playoffs, I think he's gone. I think
he's natty or bust.
Yeah,
he's got to make a deep run. We got to make the national title, and maybe if we lose, but he's got to make it there. Otherwise, I think I can tell you, I was in Ohio. People were not happy, and the Columbus Dispatch was calling for his head. It is not good.
The Columbus Dispatch,
not the Columbus.
He looked lost in the side at the end of the game. He was just confused. He looked like he didn't know what to do. He looked scared.
Like he'd run out.
This is the epitome of like you don't know you're doing anything in the game. He calls back-to-back timeouts, which you can't do. So we lose both timeouts and then get a penalty. Like I'm like, what are you doing?
Those timeouts, I was like, what?
Like that's just poor coaching. Like he is freaking out at the end of the game. Yeah, it was bad. It was all around bad. Yeah, I don't know what happened.
No, I get it. I mean, and I don't mean to pick. I know he's a proud Ohio State grad over there, but the thing is, I mean, when you lose 4 in a row to your arch rival Michigan, and you're at the time the 2nd ranked team in the country, and they come into your house and they beat you like that, I'm with Alex Williams. It's a natty or bust. I think Ryan Day could be a very successful coach in the NFL. I think he could also be a very successful coordinator in the NFL. But at this point, the chips are there. You're in the playoff. You're not out of it. But when you have better athletes than Michigan, like Ohio State does this year, Ohio State is a much better team on paper. Hell, remember what all of us said at the beginning of the season? We looked at Ohio State. We're like, damn, Ohio State might be the best team in the country. And the injury bug has hit all of these programs. But Ohio State, for the most part, has stayed intact. And for him to play at that level with Michigan, who has lost some significant games this season and lost terrifically, for lack of a better term, in some of these games, it's just unacceptable. And for it to be in Columbus, I can understand why people will be for his head. Now, remember, for those that want him gone now, Ohio State is still safely in the playoff. They're not going anywhere. And he will have a chance to prove himself, but the pressure's on Ryan Day to deliver. And
still have the 3rd highest odds on Vegas to win the title, but it doesn't feel that way. People are not happy. You just don't lose to Michigan 4 years in a row. And keep your job. Ask John Cooper. He had a bunch of in the 90s, had a bunch of teams ranked 1, whatever, but he couldn't win the Michigan and he got fired. Like it's going to come down to it, and people are not. My friends and family were not happy.
So you're saying, so just to make sure you're on the record here, you're saying if he makes the national title game, you're okay with him whether he wins or loses that game of keeping his job?
I mean, I don't know if I'm okay with it. I just don't think the university's going to fire him. Like, I think if he makes the title, I don't think you can go, he made a national championship and went, if he wins 2 games, I think to get there, 3. he's 13-2 and they made national championship. I don't think they're gonna get rid of him.
As an alum that pays back to the school, what do you want?
Well, this year I stopped paying with these bums keep losing. So, I didn't pay this year. I mean, we'll see what happens in the playoffs. But if we lose in like the first, second round, I mean, as Georgia fans, you all know what Mark Richt, he just couldn't get it done, and he had to go to Kirby. At some point, he's a nice guy and he can win you 10 games. But when it comes to a big game and you need someone who can fire the guys up and don't look like he's peeing on his pants on the sideline, then that's what you need. So, hey, nothing against him. He seems like a good guy. He recruits well and wins 10 games. But like Georgia and like Ohio State and like Alabama, we don't play for 10 wins. We play to win the championship. So
that's a top job in all of college football. That is a top 5 job, and if not top 3 job in all of college football. And you got to deliver in that position. And I like that. If it doesn't matter if you're a nice guy or not, you've got to be able to deliver when you're coaching there. All right. Georgia was called out there. So Nicole, you go ahead and respond. What do you think is the future of Ryan Day?
No, I totally agree with what you just said, Dan Z. This is where too, and Alex and I talked about, there are rivalries in college football, and this to me highlights the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry because there are so many.
Oh, you're so happy. Look at her smirking over there. I should have gone her. I'm sorry. That's fine. I should have gone her.
No, I'm not. I'm not, because honestly, I mean, but the way it ended really, really bothered me. So what I'm smiling more about is just, it is a deep-seated hatred between these two teams that you cannot. I mean, it almost matters more to beat, Michigan to beat Ohio State to beat Michigan than it. I mean, it matters to win the national championship, of course, but it really is a marker for both schools and how well a coach is doing. I mean,
Saban said it on game day about the Alabama-Auburn rivalry. You have a birthright when you're born. You're either Auburn or Alabama.
Right.
It's like the games like Michigan, Ohio State. If the coach didn't win in those games.
Yeah. I mean, especially when this was, I'm sorry. Like when we were picking that game, I intentionally put it first on the list thinking it was a give me for Ohio State this year. I think the spread was like 18 or something. I don't misquote on that. Yeah, so it's just unacceptable there. All right, Mike, I should have gone to you before going over to Miss Michigan over there because of Nicole's fandom with these random teams like this. But go ahead, Mike. What were your thoughts? What do you think? What do you think they should do with Ryan Day?
You said something about Ryan Day going to the NFL, and then I had a real serious question because I don't know the history. Have there been successful NFL coaches who were former Ohio State head coaches?
Not in a while. Urban Meyer is the first one that comes to mind. He was atrocious as the coach of the.
I think because this was a give me to Ohio State. You were supposed, they can go to the playoffs and lose, or go to the national championship, win or lose in the playoffs, and Ryan Day would be fine. But losing to Michigan, and what is this, 4 years in a row, and Michigan is horrible. And you are the number 2, 3, 4
they were number 2
in the country.
They were number 2
They were number 2. Like, you can't do that. And I'm with anybody in Ohio that's calling for his head. Like, listen, he gotta go. He gotta go. You can't beat Michigan. Last year was a different ball game. The year before
Michigan
was a different ball game, because I called the Michigan game last couple of years because Michigan's team, you said you want to say cheating or not, Coach Harbaugh had them guys looking good. He just had some good talent. They were a good overall team. But this year, listen, anybody in Ohio that's calling for his head, I'm with them. Call for it.
I get it.
Dabo need a new job. He can go to Ohio State.
I put this on the coaching staff because the defense played great. That was the worst offensive scheme, whatever they decided to do,
or lack thereof. Really,
it was terrible. It was bad.
You got to come up with when you have superior athletes and it's your year and you're at home, utilize the home crowd, take some shots. I felt like it was all ground and pound, old school Big Ten style football, which Believe me, I like that style of football. But when you're the superior team, you've got to take those shots because eventually it's going to break through there. But again,
Dabo to Ohio State. Dabo to Ohio State.
calling it now right there.
Commissioner said, hell no.
You don't believe in NIL. He doesn't know how to do transfer. It ain't gonna work.
Dion's heading your way.
Hey, maybe Dion would take those chances. He would take those chances. All right, so
he ain't got no more kids. Anyway, go ahead.
I think universally we feel the same way about Ohio State here. But if that wasn't enough, Miami fell to Syracuse, saving Dabo and Clemson by potentially giving them an automatic bid to the ACC championship, which somehow, again, Nicole was explaining this before, somehow they might have a first round bye if Clemson wins, which they don't deserve that. They don't deserve to be in this playoff. I'm just stunned. I mean, this is why rivalry week is so great. And I think a lot of these schools fed off of the energy from the Georgia Tech game from the night before. And like, hey, if Georgia Tech can do this, we can do it too. And after the game, after a lot of these games, there were several fights in the field and planting flags. The ones that stood out was the biggest one was Michigan and Ohio State, where that was that moment where Ryan Day looked lost in that moment. Like, what's going on? Like, he looks over when this is going on, kind of lost control of the team there. Arizona State, at least I appreciate the originality in this one because the players took the trident and they planted that in the middle of Arizona. So I liked that. At least that was different than planting a flag. Florida FSU, you had Billy Napier and Norvell going at each other. And I'm like, okay, like this is getting ridiculous. UNC, NC State, all the home schools were reacting as if it was the worst thing ever. Now,
Sark stopped it.
He did.
He actually went and stopped his players from planting the flag.
Did he really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so my thing about this is, number one, if you're a college kid, if other schools have already done this, like you probably already saw that the Michigan-Ohio State incident had already happened, think of something different to do instead of just planting a flag in the middle of the field. That's number one. Originality. It's so important. And allow yourself to be unique in how you celebrate and be creative. You don't have to do the copycat mentality. I'm going to do the same thing that they're doing over there, which I know that's groupthink. And when you're on a team, people are just going to feed off the energy of each other. But I wouldn't pass any rules to say you couldn't do that. I think you have to prove it on the field. Like I know that it sucks to have the opponent's team plant a flag on your field, but that's motivation for next year to go back and take care of business. I mean, go ahead there, Mike B. I see you got something to say here.
It's rivalry. Plant the flag, whoop ass. You're a week and a half away from finals. Who cares?
Yeah, okay.
I was waiting on everybody to fight. I like a good fight.
I like it. I think you got to win on the
if
field.
You lost at home, whatever. That's what you get.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Why you mad?
I think that at that point, if you lose the game, that's going to happen. Exactly. I mean, you have the bragging rights. What do you think, Alex?
I mean, yeah, I don't see. It's just all in good fun. It's nothing,
It's a flag.
It's okay. Exactly. I know it's not the same. They don't plant a flag, but if a team hits a walk off in a baseball game and they're the visiting team, the whole dugout empties. They all still run out on the field and celebrate.
That's true.
It's just stupid.
Well,
I know
emotions
run high.
You can't walk off as a visiting team.
Well, okay, I mean, when the Braves won the World Series in Houston, didn't they celebrated on that?
Of course,
of
course.
I'm just saying, like, it's just who cares?
Yeah, no, that's what I think too. So I think for the home team to react that way, learn from that moment and say, what can I do to prevent them from doing that again?
Lose.
Yeah,
I like that more than the freaking storm in the field every.
Well, I mean, last week we went off on storm in the field. It's getting out of hand. But go ahead, Nicole. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I see what you guys are saying. A lot of the announcers said that is like you had your chance to fight during the game and you lost, but there is something to be said on the other side of that. Act like you've been there. And Commissioner, please don't take this the wrong way, but my thought was, Michigan, you've been there 4 years in a row now. Just take the win. Walk off the field. I don't know. I mean, I saw both sides.
Don't do that.
But yeah, those are my 2 cents. Act like you've been there, but at the end of the day, it is rivalry week and it's tough. It's
Yeah,
really
you get bragging rights. You get bragging rights for a
That's
year
right.
there, and
They
especially
counted Michigan out except you, Nicole. They fought for you.
that's right.
They planted the
They
flag.
planted that flag for me.
and they were planting that flag after that abysmal performance you saw at the Big House when Oregon came in there and spanked that Michigan butt.
That's what
When
it
you
was.
were,
That was my apology from them.
yeah, that was the
They
redemption
still
there.
did it. So
All right,
yeah,
Dan, real quick, what do you think about it? Planting the flag? Would you
I think I'm the
outlaw?
opposite of all you guys. I think it's pretty disrespectful. Let's see if Alex would say if Auburn went out there and planted a flag in Alabama after whooping them. I don't think he'd be saying the same thing.
I mean, I'd be pissed.
So I think it's.
What am I gonna
and
do
guess
about
what?
it?
These kids got in a fight. Kids got bloodied. Coach got bloodied. They had to
Yeah.
pepper spray kids at the High State Michigan game. Each school got fined $100,000. So like,
They got it.
don't bring it. No, like this is inappropriate. Like it's after the game. You're supposed to do a handshake, right? We all talk about sportsmanship, right?
Right.
Or sportsmanship. MikeB said dumb. Sportsmanship is dumb. We should have no sportsmanship. There shouldn't be a shake the hand or anything. We should just go out there.
Not during rivalry week.
What's
Hell
next?
no.
You're gonna shoot fireworks off? Like no. Like
Turn
go
up.
shake the hands. You won. Congratulations. Should be enough that you shut up the whole stadium. There's your bragging rights. The whole stadium's already exited.
Everybody can't be
Like-
Georgia and Georgia Tech. Everybody can't be that nice. That's why they love Georgia.
Yeah,
Kirby and Brett
When you
Key
won the
both
game,
embracing
is
it.
Georgia going to plant their own flag on Georgia's field? Like
That's
Had
true.
Tech
What are
won,
you talking
at Tech
about? Like,
won, it would have been so respectful. Everybody would have still partied together, had a good old time. But all these other rivalries,
Clean old fashioned. Now here's where I'm glad.
I
I'm
will
glad
give credit to Michigan's coach. I don't think he knew they were going to do it because he was pissed about it. So I think these are
I
players
just
who
don't
will sit
see
on their
people
own.
stopping
And
it from happening. Kids
I
are going
think
to
it
do it.
should be go in your own little corner where your student fans are. And
Yeah, I see what you're
or
saying.
whatever. Like go celebrate with them.
My thing is number one is when it gets to that point where people are fighting each other, that's where I draw the line. But when it comes to planting a flag, I think that if every other school is doing this, obviously it's not an original thought because all these other schools did it too. Then at that point you got to win the game next year. But I don't think you go out there and fight for this piece of turf that
People pride in their schools, and if you're there for 4 years and you're on the field battling for it. When someone comes onto your turf and puts something in the middle of your field, you're gonna be pissed about it.
you whoop their ass too.
I can understand reacting.
That's
with
why they're
emotion.
fighting.
I can understand reacting with emotion, but then that's where the logical side has got to come in and say, hey, "Oh, I
The
lost
logical
the game."
side, hey, I'm gonna plant a flag on the way to school, and they're not gonna do something about it. That's not logical.
I don't know. I respectfully disagree. I understand what you're talking about. I wouldn't outlaw the plant flag.
When Thompson High School plants a flag on West Georgia, they're not gonna.
The flag's been planted before in multiple games. And there's not been
this
fights.
is not an unusual thing
Not
between between Oklahoma and Texas. They do this. They used to do this every year. So I don't know if they're still doing it now. I mean, it really hasn't been much of a rivalry game. It's just the fighting afterward. Win the game on the field. I think that's what it comes down to. Interesting debate about this for sure. You can let us know what you think. We got the comment section open right now.
Whoop ass. Whoop ass.
I see Dustin
Mike
saying,
B's for anarchy.
Sup, Dustin, what's going on there? Tessa, good to see you, cuz. Thanks for hanging out. I know that you're hyper obsessed about the Carolina NC State game. Unfortunately, both those teams are not very good. So, the fact that NC State was planting the flag at UNC, I mean, it's like, oh, the loser bowl. All right, who's going to...
I think so. Both those teams are getting fined now, too. I did read about that.
It turned into a big brawl at the end of it. I mean, Mac Brown was upset about
the
it.
ratings up.
Yeah,
the ratings up.
Mac Brown's so pissed. He said he ain't coaching there next year.
He said he's not coaching the bowl game either.
That's it.
Kyle, I like your idea. Sportsmanship is contagious. I like this one too.
Whatever. Do y'all know who my new Department of Education lead is in the United States? WWE. Listen, everybody whoop ass. I love it.
You're just going to lead into the fighting mentality there, Mike B. All right, real quick, I want to get to the Big 12 update. Are we sad that Colorado did not make the playoffs? Is anybody sad about that? Okay, I'm seeing head shakes all around here. For the head shake from Mike B, head shake from Dan, Nicole. Everybody's okay. Everybody's happy about it. Do we think that the Big 12 champion even deserves to be in there? I mean, Arizona State's walking in with the 12 seed. Are we happy about that there, Alex? You okay with that?
Maybe one of these years the committee will do what's on the resume of this, and it would be strength of schedule looked at for things. But
here we go, getting the Bama love over there.
That was one of the things they said they would do is look at strength of schedule. They didn't do it very well this year.
At least, hey, this is not the final result. We don't know what the exact final playoff.
And I'm not saying this is an Alabama fan.
Okay,
I promise you. There's other South Carolina.
That's true. I think South Carolina is getting overlooked now, but in the head-to-head, the people keep reminding me, Alabama did beat South Carolina in the head-to-head. So it certainly brings up an interesting thing. And because the Big 12 winner, it could be Iowa State as well too. So remember, Iowa State or Arizona State could end up winning and getting that spot in
State. Arizona played hard in their conference because they lost to who? Texas Tech, and who else did they lose to in the Big 12? Then they lost to Cincinnati, which they probably shouldn't have lost. But I mean, as far as their conference play, that's shit. They beat everybody.
Yeah,
they beat them.
I'm not so much sure the ACC is that much better than the Big 12. So,
especially Miami losing to Syracuse. Miami lost to. I mean,
Miami ain't had much of a defense all year. We're gonna be transparent. They were getting by because of that offense. They couldn't stop Syracuse offense.
And you're finding out like kind of that middle tier of the ACC is actually stronger than we thought, with both Georgia Tech and Syracuse kind of taking that middle tier area. NC State certainly showed improvement at the end of the season, like a lot of those Dave Doran teams end up doing as well too. I'd even put them at the kind of the middle to bottom tier of the ACC. I like what Mike B's talking about, how the ACC might be building something special again. For Georgia Tech fans, I've seen years where it's like next year is going to be our year for a lot of these schools out there, and then it ends up not being.
No, we didn't say their year. We just said they're going to look better. Haynes coming back. They love the coach. I think he's just a good guy. Different atmosphere at Georgia Tech. So hey, ACC gonna look a little different. We tired of Dabo.
I did like the some of the videos where people put music underneath the hug between Brent Key and Kirby Smart. Put the Titanic music.
I cried.
It was certainly an emotional moment there. All right, before we get to any of the picks here, a lot of stuff we got to cover here. Falcons in trouble. 6-6 loss to the Chargers.
Oh,
what did the Falcons do with Kirk Cousins? And Tom Brady? I watched a lot of the Thanksgiving. He's terrible. I'm at the point. I'm trying to give the guy as much.
He just doesn't bring anything to the table.
No, he doesn't. And he sounds like a dweeb. Like, if you didn't know he was Tom Brady, I just would never peg his voice. It's not a broadcast voice.
Full video of him eating turducken. Who cares?
Yeah, well, we will talk about that, I promise you, after the picks here. But first, we got a couple sports pod fails. This is where the gang picked a game completely wrong here. I thought for last week that Nicole had picked Minnesota, but she did not. We all picked Wisconsin.
Actually, I think I did. So we can just go ahead and...
Shut up. No, you get no sympathy from me, Nicole. We all picked Wisconsin over Minnesota, so that equals a fail from all of us. And we also picked Kansas over Baylor. Man, Kansas was red hot. I thought they were going to get a bowl game, but of course now they will not get a bowl game unless
they just see what we needed. They beat Dion. That's all. Okay, so.
That's right.
You were happy about that. We do have a couple of walks of shame and a couple of victory laps where. In the walk of shame, that means that a sports potter picked differently from their fellow sports potters, and they were incorrect in the pick. So, Dan, this is actually.
I say we pass. Dan doesn't have to do one.
I think he can, but he doesn't have to be as forgiving in this one. You get 30 seconds. You picked Georgia Tech over Georgia. That ended up being the game of the weekend.
You already got a thumbs up from me.
Your 30 seconds start now, Dan.
This is a tough one. Georgia Tech played their hearts out. Had Georgia did the rights. I mean. We could say, hey, Kane Skeen gets that first down. We could talk about a different story here. They played great. They did everything you needed to go into an away team and pull it off an upset. They did everything right, and we got one of the best games I think all of us have ever seen. So, no shame in this one. Just proud of the game and proud of the Jackets. So, I think we all got thumbs up. It was a great game. No shame on my end.
All right, very good. I think that you got the whole pass right there from the whole gang. Even the Georgia, even our dog.
Beautiful, Commissioner. That was beautiful. I'm crying, man.
Was happy about that as well. All right, Nicole, you were the only one that picked Clemson over South Carolina. You've got some explaining to do. Here we go.
Can I go? Give me your thumbs down. I feel like with the way, especially the talk so far with the CFP committee is gone tonight. We're not rooting for Clemson. We're not rooting for. I mean, I picked with my heart. My stepmom graduated from Clemson. She also went to, so she went to Syracuse undergrad. Clemson was her graduate school. So Syracuse winning, so Clemson can make it to their championship was kind of cool for her. There you go. That's my walk.
No, but that is not. If you keep going, the music's still going. Keep going,
guys. It was a close game. It was a close game, but you finally made me I'm not going to underestimate South Carolina. I get it now. I get it.
Okay. All right. Do we? I give it a thumbs up. Is that good?
Oh wow! I did not expect that.
I did not realize that Nicole now is a tie to Clemson.
Yeah, now we know. No wonder she's been off. When we trash talk Dabo Sweeney, she's
Thank
always.
God there's a lot of schools in North Carolina she can get touched.
Yeah.
You're going to
Well,
be UNC
maybe not the
or
Panthers.
University of Charlotte. Me and Nicole got a third
Duke,
cousin twice
NC
removed in
State.
Charlotte. Yeah.
That's right. We do.
UNCC. You'll
UNC Wilmington. Fine, you got anything.
UNCW. Yeah, you got all these different schools. You could be App State. That'd be another fun one too.
think
All right, I got a walk of shame too, guys. I picked Texas A&M over Texas. What a game! What a game. Here, I'll start up my plea to you guys. I watched this game, the Lone Star Showdown, and I gotta say, Texas A&M did everything right in the second half, except score when needed. And Quinn Ewers, I don't know if I see a champion out of that guy. I just don't know if I do. I think Georgia's going to take care of business this week. They got the timely turnovers when needed. Texas A&M is building something. They've got a great defense, but ultimately the quarterback play did them in. I loved watching Kyle Field at night, although I was in kind of a sickness haze while watching this game. Maybe I was in that sickness haze while I picked this game as well, too. I went with my heart instead of my head on that one, and I apologize for picking Texas A&M over Texas, but Texas will lose this weekend. Do you forgive me? Oh, yeah, there we go. Thumbs up all around. Love it. Love it.
Texas A&M did everything but
Only because
score.
of your last sentence. That's all.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. That's exactly what, yes. Well, they did. I mean, they got
Texas A&M did everything but score.
Except they
Hey
had
guys, Ohio State did everything but score.
a timely interception and a timely fumble and a missed field goal that put them in the game. Actually, you know what? Let me get into this for a second because I didn't intend to talk about this, but these coaches, when you're down by 2 scores, 10 points in this case, take the point. This also applies to the Falcons this weekend too. If you're down by 2 scores, take the points. Texas A&M kicked themselves out of the game because they decided, oh, well, it's 4th and 3. We'll definitely be able to get this by running the ball, knowing damn well that Texas has got a good defense. So some dumb coaching on Texas A&M's part, especially after getting all those turnovers and a missed field goal. They could have made it at least closer in that game too, especially while playing at home. All right, so now we have some victory laps here. Alex, have fun with this one. You took Coastal over Georgia State. You get 30 seconds to gloat and have fun over your fellow Sports Pod members.
This is almost a lucky pick here. But we picked a few Georgia State games this year, and Georgia State, I mean, neither team was that great. I think Georgia State's quarterback threw about 4 interceptions. They had 6 turnovers throughout the day. Other than that, I mean, you look at the game on paper, their offensive numbers are relatively the same, passing and rushing. Turnovers killed Georgia State, and they also threw a blank in the first quarter. That didn't help get things off to a good start. And Coastal Carolina just put on the gas second quarter. And
yeah, it didn't matter what color the field was. They took care of business. The Chanticleers.
That's right.
Of Coastal Carolina. Now, Nicole, now you get a gloat about things.
Why? I don't even know if I want to take a victory lap on this one.
The rules are that you get a victory lap. So you get 30 seconds where you can gloat and talk all the smack that you want to for taking Michigan over Ohio State. Go ahead.
Well, you know what? I'm going to do what I said I thought Michigan should have done. Act like we've been there. It's our 4th year being there. It's always going to be a tough game. Of course, I'm proud of the Wolverines. I was in shock that I could not believe that. I did not expect that. I thought this year of all years, especially in Ohio State, it was going to be a gimme for the Buckeyes, but glad I picked with my heart on this one and go blue. There you go.
That filler at the end. And go blue. Hey, listen, it's your 30 seconds and you can use it how you like. So you did a good job.
That was so sweet.
Jared, there was one last walk of shame.
Is there really? What was the last one?
I don't know if we want to save it for next week, but we probably all should do a walk of shame for our conference winners we picked this year because the only conference we may pick right is SEC. Everyone else,
right? Yeah,
none of our picks are even playing in the conference championship.
Let's go through that.
Let me go through them. All right.
Yeah, go through them real quick.
All right. We have. Oh, she made froze. We have for the ACC. Nicole, Mike B, and Alex all picked FSU.
Mm.
Oh, ouch.
Wow.
Dan Z
Ow.
picked Miami, which had a shot. Jared, you're the only other one. Clemson has a chance. Big 12, Mike B and Nicole took Utah. Alex took Kansas. I took Kansas State, and Jared took Oklahoma State. Bad one.
Ooh, terrible.
Big 10, Nicole picked with her heart again. She took Michigan. The rest of us took Ohio State. And then the SEC, everyone took Georgia except me, and I took Texas. So
wow.
we have a chance there. One of us may have a winner. So
I'm glad
otherwise,
you
we
kept
did
up with
not
that.
do so good on our picks.
No.
Well, I'm glad you kept up with those conference standings. We did that in week 1, by the way, for those taking score at home. And by the way, we'll get an update on the standings too. We had so many games last week. We had to do 2 slides for this. Let me make sure I have the first slide up here. Okay, so here is the first slate of games right here. Dan Z obviously did pretty well. Still maintained a 5-game lead over me here. Here are all the games we picked for those playing along at home. And here is slide numero dos here. So the scores are with Mike B's still in the cellar, 97 wins, 62 losses. Alex not far ahead, 98 wins, 61 losses. Nicole sneaking up on me, 104 wins.
Catch him, Nicole.
55 losses. Jared, 105 wins, 54 losses. And Dan still with that 5-game lead, 110 wins to 49.
The fixed game. Oh, sorry.
Listen.
She was 15-5 last week.
15-5. What a week there, Nicole. You made some ground.
Wasn't even here.
Thank you.
Which says that it shouldn't count there because she moving. Not you could have easily hopped on here and done the show. That's how
was almost late with her picks. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, I know. We should have even counted it.
It was my first week missing this season so far, guys. I mean,
oh, now you want excuses now. You're lucky that Alex was giving you the relief there. I was not going to allow any such nonsense like that to keep from the consistency of Sports Pod this season. Now let's get into the picks here because we got a lot here. We're going to do all the conferences here. We'll start on the Friday games. These are on December 6th. You got the Mountain West, 8:00 kick, UNLV, Boise State. Does Ashton Jonty's magical season continue with a playoff berth? Let's start with you, Mike B.
I like UNLV, but I think the Broncos may be just a little bit too much for them. It's a night game. Boise State. What's that running back? What is that boy?
Ashton Jonty.
Listen, he's
a beast.
He's phenomenal, and he's gonna run all over UNLV. So they played a good. I enjoyed watching the Rebels. I like their quarterback too, Williams. But I'm going with Boise State.
The pick is in.
All right, our first pick is in. That's Selection Sally. She locks in the picks for everybody. Dan Z, who you got in this one?
I'm with Mike B. Boise's they're on a destiny path here to make the playoffs, and their only loss this year was really close loss to Oregon. So they've played really well. And the Genty, the running back, if he can score 2 touchdowns, he'll only be the second person to have over 2,000 yards and 30 touchdowns in a season with Barry Sanders. So that's quite some company. So hopefully he can do it. And I think
he's small too. Small.
The pick is in.
Pick is in. Nicole, who are you taking?
I agree with you guys. I think it's Ashton Jonty.
Genty, I believe.
Gotta learn his name.
I like to say
straight out of Jacksonville. He's a Florida boy.
That's right. And I think Boise State's quarterback has impressed me in the past few games that I've been. Yeah, Maddox. So yeah, I'm going with Boise State on this one.
The pick is in.
And I remember there was a moment where the Oregon State Beavers were making that game interesting last week against them. Who are you taking there, Alex?
Yeah, Boise State offense just too much. They've been putting up a lot of points minus a hiccup with Wyoming. I think they only scored 17. Boise State.
The pick is in.
I know. I like how Oregon State decides to just put Beavs on their helmet now. Like, is it really that hard to spell Beaver? It's like they're taking something from the SIP at Ole Miss.
I was going to say, Jared, you got a real hang up with the shortened name.
Well, it's stupid. It's just spell it out. Beavers. You don't have to say Beavs. That doesn't give you any credibility at all. Let's make this a sweep. Boise State
pick is in.
Sweep. Sports Pod sweep. I'll go slower this time. That makes a Sports Pod
Sweep.
There we go. I got excited there. I went a little too fast there. All right, Conference USA, Western Kentucky at Jacksonville State. spread is only 3.5 in this matchup. I remember when Jacksonville State used to stink. So to see them in the championship game is a pretty cool feat here. Who are you taking there, MikeB?
Listen, Jack, they just lost to Western Kentucky.
Yep.
During rivalry. They only lost, was it 1917?
Mhm.
Yes.
They are not about to lose again.
Week 14.
The teams that they beat that Western Kentucky lost to during the season, unreal. They had a good running back. He's from I think Winston-Salem, He's a North Carolina boy. I follow I got connections to Jacksonville. I got family down there. Jacksonville State. I'm telling you, they got this. They got this. They should be in the college football playoff.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, hey, if UNLV and Tulane lose, or I'm sorry, if somehow Boise State loses and then Tulane loses, maybe I find that to be an extreme stretch. But hey,
let them play a good bowl. Leave them alone.
Anything could happen. Give me Jacksonville State.
The pick is in.
All right, who are you taking there, Alex Williams?
Yeah, I'm going Jacksonville State. They've had a great season, and then especially like MikeB was just saying, they're gonna be out for blood after having just lost to Western Kentucky in a game they probably should have won. So I'm going Jacksonville State.
The pick is in.
All right, Nicole.
Give me Jack State.
The pick is in.
And Dan Z.
So this is a rematch back-to-back weeks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, the better team won last week. I'm going with Hilltoppers.
Hilltoppers.
Well, the Hilltoppers.
It's disrespect.
Get that moonshine out. Let's do it.
All right, he is on an island on this one. Which, by the way, Alex, you're in trouble with Mark Aram. Mark Aram texted and said you are up way past your bedtime right now. So, Mark Aram,
he's looking out.
Hear his show 9 to noon every day on 95.5 WSB. Look, hopefully your picks are not delusional over there. Maybe Dan Z he sees something in that game there. All right, AAC championship, 8:00. Tulane at Army. If UNLV beats Boise, then Tulane has a case to be the at-large bid in the playoff. Can they do it? Dan, what do you think? Dan, what did you?
Army? Yeah, Tulane Army, the Green Wave. They've been putting together like a little bit of a program here. The last couple seasons, was it last year they beat USC in the bowl game?
2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah. So they've mingled in the top 25 for a bit the last couple years. Army's had a great year. I think this will be an interesting game. Army is still that one-dimensional. We run the ball and we don't really pass. But Tulane's got over 1,300 in rusher, and their quarterback's got 20 touchdowns. So they can kind of do both. I think Tulane is going to go in there. I think they'll get out ahead a little early, and I think Tulane wins this game.
The pick is in.
All right, MikeB.
I would like to pick the Green Wave. I really would. And I think I'm going to pick the Army Black Knights. I think, listen, they playing hard. They have to throw the ball. Just run the damn ball and play some damn defense. Smash mouth football. Go Army.
The pick is in.
All right.
Thank you.
One for Army there. Wow. What about you, Alex? Whose side are you on, Dan or MikeB's side?
I want to be on MikeB's side. Army, really, what they can do is run the ball. Other than that, it's going to be tough. I think Tulane, unfortunately, is going to shut that run game down, make them open up their offense a little, expose some weaknesses. I got to go Tulane.
The pick is in.
Give me the Green Wave.
The pick is in.
Nicole, you're last. Who are you taking?
Yeah, I think Tulane's coming off the loss to Memphis, and I really want to pick Army, but I'm going to ride with the Green Wave, or I'm going to ride the Green Wave. Sorry.
Yeah, there we go.
The pick is in.
That works there. The AAC championship. All those on Friday, by the way. So if you're looking for good football,
Interesting fact. They're playing the conference championship, but then Army plays next week to play Navy.
Navy.
I don't think I've ever seen someone play in their conference championship and then have a game the following week. So they still got to play Navy, which is a fun rivalry, but
that's right.
Interesting that they have a conference championship and then have to play next week. So
yeah, that's incredibly odd. But I guess the
do that. They on the road. They on the road. They rank for a reason. They should be top 10. Whatever. Why is Clemson up there?
Every team you pick should be in the playoffs.
They should be in the playoffs. You know, we're gonna pretty soon, MikeB, in your universe, man. It's gonna be the bracketology of March
I'm going
Madness.
to be on the committee, and I'm going to put teams who did not lose up at the top.
We're gonna have the top 68 teams, and we'll do a big tournament starting in early November, and just whittle it down all the way till.
We can do it in February, a little spring ball. We get bored.
Yeah, people need
that's the Super Bowl, you know.
People need these extra games. All right, the Saturday games on December 7th here. We got the Sun Belt Championship, 7:30, Marshall at Louisiana. Will the Cajuns home field create an advantage. The spread is 5. What do you think, Nicole?
I do think it's going to create an advantage, and I'm going with Louisiana.
The pick is in.
I'm riding
Louisiana.
with the Raging Cajuns as well on this one.
The pick is in.
All right, who are you taking there, Dan?
I'm also with you guys. Raging Cajuns. I think they'll pull out the win. I don't know, be honest, too much about either team, but I'm looking at the stats. Their quarterbacks, it seems like he throws the ball quite a bit, so I think they'll spread it around. I think the Cajuns win.
The pick is in.
MikeB.
Don't sleep on Marshall. They've had some great wins. Not as fancy as the Raging Cajuns. I like Marshall. I don't think they're gonna go in Louisiana and do it though. So I think the Raging Cajuns, this their year to win the Sun Belt. New champion.
The pick is in.
All right, the Sun Belt, Fun Belt. You gonna put yourself on an island there, Alex?
No, I'm going Raging Cajuns.
All right, Make It
The
Day
pick
Sports
is in.
Pod. Sweet. There we go. I think I finally elongated enough. This is the one thing about having everybody on remote here is I have to elongate all this stuff. All right, Mac Nation here. Noon kick, Ohio versus Miami, Ohio. This is in Detroit. Spread is only 2.5. Who runs Mac Nation? What do you think there, Nicole?
Oh gosh. I want it to come to me first. Who runs Mac Nation? I'm gonna go with Miami, Ohio, just on a coin toss in this one. There you go.
I kind of like this matchup.
The pick is in.
Miami, Ohio versus the Ohio Bobcats. I kind of like
Right,
that.
right.
Alex, who you got?
You know what? Give me the Bobcats. Why?
The pick
Why
is
the
in.
hell not?
Well, I like it. Right with the Mac. What about you there, MikeB?
I'm going with the Bobcats too, Williams. They beat the
Yeah.
hell out of some of these teams. Let's go Bobcats.
The pick is in.
Give me the Bobcats as well.
The pick is in.
What about you there, Dan?
I'm with Nicole. I'm taking the Miami here. They not happy with that they're in there because they beat Bowling Green last weekend to get into the championship, which is my brother and my dad's alma mater. But they can throw the ball pretty good. Fun fact: I'm pretty sure their quarterback is Blaine Gabbert's brother. If you remember that
Oh, yeah.
busty
Blast
quarter,
from the past.
the bust from the quarterback in the NFL. But so they can throw the
Brett
ball a little
Gabbert.
bit. Yeah, the Gabberts. So I think they got a little enough firepower. I think Miami wins this one.
All right. Fair
pick
enough.
is
Look at
in.
that, we got a
Miami,
slick-
Ohio. Miami, Ohio. Not the
This
Yeah.
is the Miami, the real Miami.
Oh,
Thank you. I'm glad we got the confirmation.
At least one of the Miamis is playing in the conference championship. Just saying.
Ah!
Shots fired.
Mac
Oh.
Nation,
fired.
baby.
He
Mac
said what he
Nation.
said.
All right, now we got a good one here. Big Ten, Penn State versus Oregon. This is in Indianapolis. James Franklin has finally got that chance to get that quality win against a top-tier opponent. Will he get it? Dan Z.
I'm surprised the spread's as low as it is on this one. I think it's like
3.5.
3.5.
Mm-hmm.
Which I felt was a little bit low. ESPN Predictor actually has Penn State favored in this one. So this is an interesting one where Vegas picks Oregon. ESPN Predictor picks Penn State. I just don't see Penn State with the firepower and offense to keep up with Oregon's offense. Their defense is a good defense, but I just feel like Oregon may get out ahead of them, and it'll put a lot on Drew Aller, who in the biggest games seems to fall short. So does Franklin. So I think the Ducks win, keep that number 1 seed, and go undefeated.
Okay.
The pick is in.
All right. There is one for Oregon there. Now, Alex Williams, who do you have in this one?
Yeah. I think it's going to be a combination of James Franklin is going to do something James Franklin, and man, what was my other combination? Oh my god, I had a complete brain fart. Son of a gun.
See, Mark Aram said it's past your bedtime.
Yeah, he's right. Either way, I'm going Oregon. I just think I haven't seen enough of Penn State up against a quality team to think that they even deserve to be favored. Kind of like Dan said, I don't know what kind of faith to have in Aller, and I think James Franklin's going to James Franklin. He can't win a big game. That continues. Oregon.
Okay. All right, Sally, did you hear that?
Pick is in.
There we go. That's what happens with my cord. There we
pick
go.
is
There's
in.
Sally. There. You got a triple lock there, Alex. All right, Nicole, who do you have in this matchup? Penn State, Oregon.
I noticed the same thing, Commissioner. I was like, what does Vegas know if the ESPN Predictor is favoring Penn State, but not by that much? I think it's going to be Oregon, and I think the spread is way too. I think Oregon's going to win in a statement win against Penn State for sure.
The pick is in.
Okay, they do say the defense wins championships. What do you think there, MikeB?
I do think that the coach of Penn State may not have been able to get by Ohio State and Michigan the last couple of years, but I think you got to put some respect on the Lions because they have maintained in the top 10 this season compared to other seasons. I do think that they had the exact damn same schedule as Oregon, and Oregon call it what we want to call it. I called that win early in the season against Ohio State, but they shouldn't have beat them. It was mistakes and flags that beat Ohio State in that game. Let's just call it what it is. Don't sleep on those Lions, and I think that's what ESPN is trying to tell you. But my pick, I love Coach Lannon, Dan Lannon, Jordan James, Dylan Gabriel, go Ducks.
Okay.
The pick is in.
And that is not going to make a sports pod sleep because I'm riding with Penn State in
The
this one.
pick is
James
in.
Franklin gets the victory right there.
Whoa.
The college football playoff right there. Mark it down. I'm calling it. Penn State wins that game. It's way
pick
harder
is
to
in.
travel for Oregon going to Indianapolis. I think Penn State's got the advantage there. They've had more time to prepare. They had a cupcake last week. They were able to rest a lot of the starters. They're rested. This is Franklin's chance here. Now, if he doesn't win this game, it is indicative of kind of him as a coach. I don't think you get rid of him at Penn State. He's kept Penn State.
He's not Ryan Day. Don't do that.
In the yeah, I mean, for Penn State, they got to be happy with what Franklin's doing. He's making them competitive. They're in the playoff. I think that Penn State shocks and they beat Oregon in this game.
Wow.
Noon, we got a Big 12 game. Iowa State versus Arizona State. Win and in is the mentality for this game. Should be fun. Who you got, Alex?
This really, when I was first looking at this was a tough one for me to decide, but I've been riding that Arizona State Sun Devils wave, and it's just, I mean, that track just keeps heating up. I'm going Sun Devils.
The pick is
I'm with
in.
you, buddy. I'm riding with the Sun Devils as well.
The
This is
pick
in
is in.
Dallas. I feel like they were able to put the Trident in Arizona, win the Territorial Cup last week. Double lock
The pick
for
is in.
Arizona State in this one. All right, MikeB, who you got?
Arizona State been whooping behind in the Big 12. Took a loss to Cincinnati. They probably shouldn't have took. And they got another L in there. They probably shouldn't have took. Good season. And like I said, they on a wave right now. And hey, Dion ain't there. Go Arizona State. Let's go. Let's
The
go.
pick is in.
All right, Kamish, who you taking?
Well, I do have a buddy, a close friend of mine that is on the coaching staff at Iowa State, so my heart's telling me to go to Cyclones. They've had a great season, but Arizona State has been on a tear lately. They seem to be on like a war path to make the title, to make the playoffs. This one's hard because I really want to pick Iowa State, but I just have a feeling this running back, I love his name, Scadaboo, for Arizona State. Yeah, the Sun Devils just seem to be on a roll, so I think Arizona State's going to ride the hot hand on and win. But if they lose, I'll be happy for Iowa State. But I think Arizona State's going to win the game.
Yeah, I got you.
pick
You're
is
going to be
in.
pulling for Iowa State, but Arizona State's your pick. What about you, Nicole?
With you guys, I think Arizona State's on a roll. And everybody counted them out. So plant the Trident, Let's go Arizona State.
Plant the Triton, I like that. That might be the title of the show. Plant the Triton, All right, that's a sports pod. Sweep. Now we got the AC.
Sun Devils.
You got to make sure you write that down, Nicole, because I will
Oh,
forget. Plant the Triton, ACC, 8 o'clock kick, Clemson, SMU. SMU, in my opinion, is in no matter what. But will Clemson be playing with new energy, knowing that with a win, they are in? MikeB, you're shaking your head. Who you taking?
I'm going with the Mustangs. They are on a roll. Got a good little quarterback, running back. I'm rolling with them. I'm rolling with the herd. I'm going with the herd. This is it for Dabo. This is it. This is it. We've been calling it. This is it. Come on, Mustangs.
See, this
Send
is your
Dabo
problem there,
home.
Mike. See, this is your thing, might be. You can't let your personal emotion get in the way. Dabo's been in this game. He knows how to win it. More people are going
He
to be.
knew how to beat the Gamecocks until this past weekend.
No, he didn't.
Let's
He,
go Mustangs.
Okay, double lock.
The
All right.
pick is in.
I'm telling you right now. I think this is going to be another shocker game here. I think Clemson wins this game.
The
They
pick
make the
is in.
college football playoff. Chaos ensues. SMU still makes the playoff, but Clemson double
pick
lock
is
on them.
in.
Go ahead there, Alex.
Yeah. If Clemson would have beat South Carolina, I might have taken Clemson begrudgingly, but I don't want to. And I also see it's a game for comparison. Clemson squeaked by Pitt 24-20. SMU put the beating on them 48-25. I'm going SMU.
Okay.
The pick
Pony
is
up.
in.
Dan Z, who are you taking?
I'm really loving what the Pony Express is doing this year. They can run the ball. The quarterback can run the ball. The quarterback can throw the ball. All that being said, they played the bottom of the barrel of the ACC besides Pitt and Louisville. I mean, their schedule was not tough. I think the reality check's still coming. I think Clemson is still a good team. I think we wrote them off. I do not like Clemson. I do not like Dabo, but he's been in these games. It's in what, 2-hour drive? From
Yes,
them?
it's
where
right
they
there.
go in Charlotte.
Yeah.
Are you going to the game, Nicole?
I am
I think
actually. Just kidding.
are you?
Just kidding.
Okay.
No, I'm not.
I think Clemson's gonna surprise some folks. I think they're gonna upset SMU. This is another one. I hope I'm wrong. I hope
Yeah.
I think Clemson's gonna win.
All right.
The pick is
All right.
in.
That makes another one. Joining me on the Clemson train. Are you joining Dan and myself on the Clemson train, Nicole?
Reluctantly, I am because
Oh!
The pick
I
is
know
in.
I want to pick the Mustangs, but I'm
because my
taking.
aunt went there, and that's why I love
Oh,
Orange.
I think it's Clemson's history in this game. I
Close
think
to
is
Charlotte now.
that's right. That's it. No, I think it's their history in the ACC championship. I think they're going to squeeze it. I think it's going to be a tough game. It could be the best game of the week. So,
Oh, wow. All right.
The pick
Best
is in.
game of the week. Dangerous right there, making that prediction. All right. Now, I mean, I would say this is the game of the week. I think it's going to be a great battle between two Titans because both these teams are going to the playoff. You got a 4:00 kick, Georgia, Texas in Atlanta. I think that Texas will seek revenge. But remember, if you lose this game, as we were talking about with Notre Dame earlier in the show, you get a home game that kind of sets you up correctly going into the next game. Now, I know injuries can happen, and you probably don't want that to happen. But it's kind of a win-win. I mean, at some point, do you think either of these teams are going to sit their starters? I mean, or do you think they're going to go for it, Alex Williams?
I know one starter that is going to be sitting for Georgia, and it's where they've been struggling since he's been out, maybe a little before, is Etienne. He ain't playing. They kind of indefinitely said he's out for now.
Yeah,
basically. This is going to mean a lot for Texas after what Georgia came in and did at their home stadium. So I hate to do it, but I think Longhorns are going to beat Georgia in Georgia.
Okay.
The pick is in.
One for the Longhorns there.
And even if Ewers doesn't play too well, do we see some kind of magic from Manning? You never know.
He's only been running the ball.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's really all they put him in. You know what's going to happen when they put him in right now, but did they change? I don't know. I'm going Texas.
I'd like to see that guy. I'd like to see him pass the blood.
I think it's
The
a
pick
test
is in.
Georgia's going to fail, unfortunately.
We will see 4:00 at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Nicole, why are you taking the Dogs?
well, guys, as always, to say that I'm terrified is an understatement because my thought was, of course, we've played Texas, we've beat Texas, so it's quote the devil we know. But I would have frankly much rather taken Texas A&M if it came down to one of those two teams, because it could be that Texas has our number now and they're going to come to play. But of course, as always, I got to pick my alma mater. Glory, glory, go Dogs. And we cover what spread is 2. Definitely going to cover that. We got this.
Oh,
The pick is
definitely
in.
going to take it. All right. Dan Z, your pick in the conference earlier in the season was Texas. Are you going to ride with the Longhorns?
Well, Texas is favored by 2, so you're getting the points to Georgia. So you can have them, Nicole.
Call him out. Call her out.
No, their one loss is to Georgia. They did show up and kind of did a really good job the first time, but it's really tough to beat a team twice, especially a team that's motivated. As bad as we think Ewers has kind of been playing, he's got 5 less picks than Beck. I think Texas has a lot to prove here. First year in the SEC. This is Sark's big game. Like, I think, but he does not show up in big games. This is a tough one. This is a real tough one because Kirby usually does. But I think Texas is going to stay with my pick. I picked from the beginning of the year. I think Texas is going to win the title. I'll win the SEC title.
I went against my own title pick. But.
Okay. All right. What about you, MikeB?
UGA double lock.
The pick is in.
That's all
The
I gotta
pick is
say.
in.
Double lock there from Selection Sally.
I feel like this game could be a 3-point win either way or a blowout either way. I don't even know. Some
Yeah,
team could win
I
by
agree.
20.
We had 7 sacks that last game. We're going for 10. Let's go defense.
I think what's going to happen in this game, this is my prediction. I think Georgia, even though the game went to 8 overtimes, they played Friday, and the Texas A&M Texas game was late on Saturday. I think that might play a factor in terms of the conditioning and the endurance on the players. Now, again, Georgia cannot start off slow like they did against Georgia Tech. Otherwise, Texas will blow them out like Dan was alluding to there. But Ewers and Carson Beck, I mean, kind of in a weird way, kind of mirror images, like disappointing in my opinion. I thought Ewers going into this season would be like proving himself to be one of the top picks in the draft. I don't see it as of right now. Carson Beck, again, I've seen now several games watching Georgia, all the tools to be a great quarterback, just doesn't have it between the ears yet. He can figure that out. He can definitely fix that. But I think Georgia's going to eat this one out and end up knocking Texas out of that number number 2 or number 3 overall seed in the college football playoff rankings, which is going to turn everything upside down and make it really interesting next week when we do our sports pod. I know we're getting late here. I wanted to bring up real quick by a show of hands. So we won't get to Tom Brady. I think we all feel universally that we don't like how well he's doing on Fox. So no need to go into that. But real quick, Falcons on Kirk Cousins. They still have a lead in the division because of the tiebreaker with Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay has got an easier road to the playoffs right now. Real quick, do we keep Kirk Cousins at quarterback? MikeB.
He plays against Minnesota. Absolutely.
Okay, I love it. Alex Williams.
Yep.
All right, Nicole.
Yes.
Dan Z.
He should pray like Jameis did. God, give me no more pick sixes. So, yeah, Cousins plays.
All right, I like it. I think if they lose in Minnesota, especially in another embarrassing fashion like what happened against the Chargers, I was at that game. I mean, I felt like I was under a spell or under some kind of hypnosis. I mean, the Falcons were like, oh, yeah, we have the lead with the last 6 minutes left. We'll just control the ball all the way to the very end. And, of course, we'll score. I'm like, we're not that good yet. We got a lot to prove in this offense. Otherwise, the calls from Michael Penix will be loud, and people in the crowd already were pointing at the back of some Penix jerseys like, it's time. Give him one more game in Minnesota, and we'll see what happens. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. I appreciate y'all playing through pain, doing this show. We've got one more this year. Next week, we're going to do our playoff bracket. Should be a lot of fun playing that out, and then we'll have one show in 2025, which is hard to imagine. So don't go anywhere. We got the full playoff layout coming out next week. We'll give our predictions on that and our recaps. You don't want to miss it. Real quick, if you want to get more Alex Williams,
A_Will24 on Insta.
All right, MikeB,
Mike Boozer, WSB.
Nicole Bennett,
At Nikki Ben on X.
Dan Z.
D Zirger 21 on Insta.
There we go. And I'm at Jared Yamamoto on all the various socials up there. Be sure to listen to my radio show, The Nightcap with Jared Yamamoto, and, of course, the Von Hessler Doctrine. In the meantime, please be safe out there, folks. There's a lot of people that act like idiots during these sporting sessions. If your team loses, be safe. Don't get behind the wheel. Don't get upset about things. Plant the flag, but don't be a jerk about it. Bye-bye!